Hello family, welcome to the video. I just wanted to share my Two-Moon Pre-Rapture Vision and try to tie it to the question, can Brother Joshua's rapture prophecy still be salvaged? So back in October 7, we had a rapture high watch and there was a super moon. However, when I tried to sight it, the whole sky was covered in clouds. So it was practically impossible to see it. But I asked God for uh, a sign that if indeed Joshua's prophecy was true, he would let me see it even though it was cloudy. And on at 9:15 p.m., while I was still walking around the neighborhood, the clouds parted exactly where the moon was, and it showed itself to me for about a minute and then closed up, and I never saw it again. So I took that as a sign from heaven that indeed something was cooking in God's prophetic timeline about the rapture. Then on the night of that day, October 7 to 8, I had a strange experience. I call this the pre-rapture simulation. So while I was slipping back to sleep at around 5 a.m., my body suddenly froze and I heard a loud buzzing sound, like a siren-like chainsaw. And I wanted to say it's the rapture already, but I couldn't speak since my voice as well was frozen. I thought I was about to fly up, then I snapped out of my frozen body state. It felt like it was the real event about to take place. So I call it a pre-rapture experience because I didn't really fly up. Now, there's a lot of talk about people getting two-moon rapture dreams, right? And people are already thinking this is kind of a mass psychosis. People are getting similar dreams, right? Then on another recent high watch for the rapture, which was on October 30, 31 uh, date, uh, I had a two-moon epiphany. It was on Halloween. So on Halloween, my son suddenly called us. We were at home and he said he had a bike accident after work. So he collided with a car. Then my wife and I came to the accident site by bike, and my wife took my son to the hospital by taxi. So I was left with two bikes, which I had to bring home. And while I was bringing the two bikes home, I realized the front lights, which were on, appeared like two moons. So it was a very strange, unique experience, right? To see two bikes riding in tandem. And so I thought of the two moons being also so unique. Then, to compound the unique experience, by chance I also saw another man bringing two bikes by himself on the same night. So it was something so strange happening on the same night. Alright, so here's the real two-moon dream. Now, it's November 3, okay, today. And just this morning, I had, at 7:47 a.m., I had this strange dream. I actually saw two moons positioned like this. So this was where I was, my point of view, and I saw it Slightly to my right, there was a same-sized moon, two moons. One was slightly above the other, this arrangement. Then this lower moon suddenly disappeared, and I only saw one moon left, like that. So right after seeing the two moons, I my my consciousness moved from the dream state to being awake. So I got kind of shocked because I saw the two moons. And then my body suddenly froze as if I was being shocked by a taser or electrocuted by a live wire. So I call this my second pre-rapture simulation. I snapped out of the frozen body state in a few seconds, so I didn't experience the flying up part of the rapture. But these two things happened in consecutively, and it felt like it was a technique. The shock and effect of these two things happening to me was like how Hollywood would portray a horror movie where they would suddenly flash a frightening thing on the scene. It was something like that. Right. So when I woke up that day, I looked at the news, checked out what's up, and I realized there was an upcoming supermoon again, and it was gonna be on November 5. So November, it's called the Beaver Moon. The date doesn't show, but it's November 5. So in summary, we have October 7 right here as a supermoon, and another on November supermoon here. So we are going to experience two supermoons this year. So maybe that's the interpretation of the two moons, right? That's one way to look at it. And of course, back in September, we had a blood moon. So blood moon, supermoon, supermoon in sequence. Now let's go back to Halloween. So I said that 30 and 31 were high watch days. If you watch this video by Sister Dawn, the last high watch was on Halloween, but nothing came to it, right? Nothing happened. So what's wrong? We thought we solved the puzzle as a community of watchers, but nothing happened, right? So we thought all the planets and stars aligned already to these two dates. And one of the key pieces of the puzzle in getting these dates was to add these green arrows. I'll explain later. Now there were also dreams of rapture on Halloween, like this young boy. So we really thought that it was gonna be Halloween, when the rapture would take place. And there were, if you recall, there were even this 126 or 726 inverted clock of Tanzania as a exact time to watch, but nothing happened, right? So I would say that this whole relation to Halloween in the dream was actually just symbolic. Like most dreams in the Bible. Um, when Joseph had a dream of the stars, heavenly bodies bowing down. Those weren't really literal events, right? They were symbolic. So I believe the symbolism is that the moon, which is used a lot for as a backdrop for satanic themes, as you see in these pictures, um, God will redeem the moon as a symbol during the rapture, through the rapture. And after the rapture happens, the moon will now be associated with God, in the same way that the cross, which was used to be a symbol of torture by the Romans, became a symbol of God's love and mercy. Alright, so further discovery, okay. I further found out that there are gonna be 3 consecutive supermoons in 2025. How lucky can we get, right? To have a year with 3 big moons. Now, the first, the harvest moon on October 7 has just passed. And now, November 3, today, we're here. We are about to witness the beaver moon on the 5th of November. And then on the 4th of December, we'll have a cold moon, called a cold moon, supermoon. So I believe that this right here, between these 2 supermoons, is a possible rapture date timeline. This is just my interpretation as the Lord leads by His grace, that the rapture timing will be after 2 supermoons and between 2 supermoons. Alright, so that's why I check here 2 and then put an X here on the 3rd. And maybe that's why I was shown 2 supermoons, meaning in my dream 2 supermoons were what I would experience as a Christian. I wouldn't experience the 3rd supermoon. And then one of the supermoons disappeared, right? Because it already came to pass, because I am here today. So that's why I'm left with only one. So that's how I interpret the vision of the rapture timeline. Alright, so just as a background, I also had past dreams of seeing Jesus on the clouds with hands extended, something like this. But I couldn't find the exact picture where in my dream, Jesus was, hands were kind of extended downwards, down to the earth. Even appeared like he was surfing on the clouds. Okay, so, and this vision, or this dream I had, was, I connect that a lot to the rapture. And then I also had a dream once where I saw Jesus zoom up to heaven. And I also connect that to the rapture. Because it's like Jesus telling me that this someday you're going to experience this, what I'm going to do. And he zoomed up. Okay, so what's my prognosis today, now that we just had our closest rapture watch, where we thought everything lined up, right? It was on Halloween, but nothing happened. Now this video suddenly came up from Danny V, he's saying that November is the real September. So to come out with a video like this would mean he's even saying that September, October are flipped on Julian and Gregorian. All I can say is that this calendar business is already so messed up, right? So we're practically lost in calendar translation, if I could say. So we could be in the correct start month. We could be in the correct sun constellation position. There's the talk about the Essene calendar now, because they seem to be the most accurate in keeping biblical prophetic timelines. There's talk about leap months. They call it, I think, Adar 1 and 2. If you need to add two more months in a year. So it's a complete mess. I would liken our situation now as to be like a ship lost in open sea after a storm. So where do we go from here? So that takes us to part 2 of this video, which is the question, can Joshua's rapture prophecy still be salvaged? Okay, so right here I have a red letter edition of Joshua's prophetic announcements. This was in the Sent Twins interview. So these are what Jesus directly told him. So here on the 23rd and 24th of September 2025, I will come to take my church, was the first. Then after it didn't happen, he had a second interview with the twins. No, it was his last and fourth, maybe. Days from now, I will rapture my church. And he was alluding to what Brother Scott discovered about the Julian calendar, that it would likely happen on October 6 to 7, that timeline. But it didn't happen again, right? Then on October 13, which was after this didn't happen, he had a vision or a dream. Jesus spoke to him and said, the 15 days will pass. Then on the 16th, 17th, October 2025 will be the rapture of the church. And he had this kind of footnote that was equating the original September 23-24 in the Enoch calendar is actually corresponding to the 16th, 17th of October 2025. So this statement practically locks the prophecy to an exact date according to the Gregorian calendar. And it didn't come true, right? So these statements were from Jesus, supposedly, right? And this didn't happen. All right, so that's where the mockers and scoffers come in, right? And have a field day with all these predictions. Now let's look at Brother Joshua's history and track record. So he said when the first prophecy on September didn't come to pass, he mentioned this verse in 1 Corinthians 13. We know in part, we prophesy in part. So he admits to the fact that he himself is looking through a really clouded glass in all of this. And based on the track record, he's already strike 3 for the endorsed dates of these 3 dates shown here. So based on each of the calendars, nothing came out, right? Now, in his interviews, he seems to be putting a lot of explanations, added explanations to the core message, which I think could likely be embellishments, uh, since anyone marketing a message would try to put more and more flavor to the actual product, right? The core message. So I think he's kind of prone to doing that. Now, clearly, from the track record, he has misunderstood and has misinterpreted the message, if indeed the message was true. Now, he himself, in his first um, in his testimony in the first Sent Winds interview, said that he misread Jesus' command to him when he was said to win more souls. He mistook it for starting a church. So from that testimony, he admits that he can misunderstand what God really wants him to do or say. Now, we don't really want to condemn anyone for not reading God correctly, because the Bible is full of people who have not been perfect. For example, Abraham and Sarah. Thanks to Brother Thomas for this example. They misunderstood the promise of a child, right? Like how God would fulfill the promise in their old age, and that resulted in Ishmael, right? The headache of Israel right now, the Arab states. All right. So, to answer, can Joshua's rapture prophecy still be salvaged? My hypothesis or even proposal is that I think October here is kind of extra information that was not part of the original message, or kind of like an inserted Joshua might have inserted the month October here for clarity. And then my other proposal or hypothesis is that this 1617 here is not actually a date. It's a day counter. So one of the in the last puzzle solving exercise by Sister Dawn that Sister Dawn presented, these days 14 and 15 were used as a counter. Okay, they weren't the literal days themselves on the calendar. So why don't we use these two as day counters as well? I know this is kind of a stretch, right? Because we're like already forcing the prophecy, bending the prophecy too much. But if anyone wants to keep some level of hope for the prophecy to be fulfilled, I think this is one of the last ways we can treat this, right? So remember the green arrows in this video? Those were the day counters from the day Joshua had his dream. So we added 15 or 16 days to come up with 30 and come up with here 14 and 15 were the day counters. So that landed on 28-29, and then the 16-17 day would be the rapture event as we thought. Okay, so is this biblical? Yes, because there's a parallel style in Daniel 9, if you recall. This is the 90 weeks prophecy. Look at this statement here. There will be 7 sevens and 62 sevens. Then, after the 62 sevens, the anointed one will be put to death. So, here the period is stated as two periods of time. Right? It kind of parallels. So, if Joshua's prophecy was indeed gonna be consistent with how the Bible states things, this is a range of dates, and this should also be a range of dates, just like in the Daniel prophecy. And a lot of people might wonder, why did Daniel even have to divide these into two, right? Why couldn't the prophecy just be 69 sevens, as the statement here, right? So maybe God allowed this kind of statement so that we could also decipher that this statement is a parallel, that these are periods of days. Okay, now let's go to the moon phases calendar and zero in on October and November. So if we do the proposed interpretation of adding or counting 16 days starting from October 30 to 31 or /31, which was the last high watch. So if you count, so this would be 1, okay, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Sorry, I should have started here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Yeah. So 16 would land us in the November 14/15 date in the Gregorian. Okay, so we added basically 16 days based on Joshua's prophecy. Now, that brings us to November 14/15, and that could be the real September 23, 24. Remember Danny V's video that he was saying September was the real November. Okay. Now, let's go back to the Word of God. Does this still line up? So, the Feast of Trumpets is on a full moon according to Psalms 81:3, which was Brother Scott's piece of the puzzle that he put in. Then the last trump is after 10 days for a Jubilee year. That's in Leviticus 25:8-9. Okay, so we kind of shift the Feast of Trumpets 10 days later for a Jubilee year. Now, we know that 2025 is the final Jubilee year of this age, according to the Essenes, right here. If you do a quick Google search. Okay, so now in Enoch's calendar, the month starts at a crescent moon. Just a quick Google search. says in the book of Enoch, the start of the month is marked by the first visible crescent moon. So I think this is what the Jews nowadays are following to um, pinpoint the Feast of Trumpets, right? But according to heaven's calendar, as revealed to by Sister Hlengiwe, the month starts at a full moon. Okay, and that matches with Psalms 81:3. All right, so now if you do the kind of math on both calendars, if we try Enoch's calendar, which I show here in blue, and add 23 days, okay, so if this assumes the start of the month to be here, 22, 23, and add 23 days to match according to the prophecy of Joshua. So this would be the September in Enoch's calendar. And if you add 23, it will bring you to November 14 and 15. Alright, so, and then Joshua also said that it will be on the Feast of Trumpets. Now, for that statement, you have to use heaven's calendar. Because heaven's calendar, the month starts at the full moon, which is shown here as green. We add by the green arrow. And for the Jubilee year, we have to add 10 days, right? So if you add 10 days, it will also bring you to November 14, 15. Okay? So again, why did we add 10 days? It's because it's a Jubilee year. So either calendar will point you to the same date. So we kind of get our GPS back online here after the storm, getting lost, because look, the calendars and the math still work out, right? If we consider these as the real September 23, 24. So in summary, September 23/24, this rapture prophecy is based on Enoch's calendar, while the Feast of Trumpets rapture prophecy is based on heaven's calendar. We have to use both calendars in order to make sense of the Joshua's prophecy. So both of these point to November 14/15 as a rapture high watch. Alright, so that basically concluded my what I want, the whole message I wanted to convey. But just as a side note, I actually asked God last night because I realized these things about making it a day counter last night. And I asked God, should I post a video about my recent findings? And this morning, I had the Two-Moon Rapture dream, right? And coincidentally, if you spell these two moons in terms of letters, you'd have Oo, right? And Oo in Tagalog, or the Filipino language, means yes. So that's why I'm making this video right now. Now, for people who are wondering why we are even bothering to find the date of the rapture, I have a special treat for the non-rapture hunters, doubters. Although this video is not for you, because you wouldn't be interested. Yeah, this is just so you know. So this the other video I've made so far. I was trying to answer why no one knows the day and the hour is not referring to the rapture. And if you want to know where I'm actually located, if you know this mountain, then you know where I'm on the planet right now. So that's the timeline I'm also looking at. Alright, so thanks for watching and be blessed. Maranatha.